All right. Hello to everyone out there. Welcome to sovereignlifeskills.com. I am your host, Chad Schwartz. I'm here today with film director and freedom advocate, Drew Treglia. Drew is the director of the indie cult classic film, Jones Plantation. His YouTube channel is Drew Media. You can watch his work at jonesplantationfilm.com. Drew, thank you so much for being here on this inaugural interview for sovereignlifeskills.com. I appreciate your time, bro.
Oh, this is the inaugural interview. I feel special.
Yep, first one. I just built the
All right.
website, and for a couple of reasons, I chose you. So yeah, special.
Cool. Good times.
Cool. I wanted to start this off by saying congratulations on completing the Jones Plantation project and all that incredible stuff. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for all your help too. You were a big help getting it out, and you posting those emails really helped us a couple times. So thank you.
Yeah, and thanks to Anarchapulco as well. So speaking of that, I wanted to shout out for Kat Bonandine, Lily Forrester, Jeff Berwick, because yeah, all those
Rebecca.
people sort of, yeah, Rebecca, all those people sort of helped get those emails out and all gave their approval for that stuff. So thank you to all of them as well.
That was a big help. That was a big help for us.
Yeah, I'm very glad to hear that because I've been in the same situation, struggling with the project, and some people help. So I know exactly how that feels. So we're going to talk more about that later on, how hopefully the community can help make more films and stuff like that. We'll get into that. And you are doing sort of a victory lap, right? You're doing premieres and I'm sure some celebrations and stuff. What's going on with the film now? You guys are doing a premiere in LA or something soon?
Yeah, we're going to be in screening in LA on the 20th. So next week, next Saturday, week from tomorrow, and we're going to be screening at the Lemley Royal on Santa Monica Boulevard. And it's gonna be like a whole red carpet thing and a limo and the whole 9 yards. So that'll be fun.
Wow. Oh
And
my
then we're gonna
God.
do like yeah, that'd be fun. Too bad you can't come. Too bad you
I
can't
would
come.
I would love to. We got Anarchapulco. We're
No, I
1 month
got you.
out, so I would love to.
Rebecca's gonna be there though. Rebecca from Anna, she's coming in. She's gonna fly in. She's gonna help me out, which is really
Awesome.
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then we're in the process right now of launching it to all the big platforms. So we've been only exclusively available on jonesplantationfilm.com up till now. So we've got like a aggregator slash distributor, and we're going to launch it. It's going to be available on like Amazon and Apple TV and Google and all YouTube Premium and all that stuff. So that's coming. So I think that'll hopefully kick it into overdrive because we, like a lot of normies and stuff, don't want to. We'll call them that. Don't want to watch on a website. They just want to go to Amazon or let's make it easy on them. So hopefully it'll get out there into the real world.
Excellent. So yeah, I'm really happy to hear that it's going to be on the platforms and stuff like that. So I'll pay attention to that and keep me updated because maybe there's some way I can, help to promote that stuff. So
Okay.
cool. Onwards and upwards. I was
Yeah.
wondering about that. What's the next step going to be if they're going to allow it onto the platforms and stuff like that? But it sounds like it's
Let's
gonna,
hope.
it's gonna be out there.
I mean, they've got to be. That's what take you submit it, and then they have to QC it. Excuse me. And I think we'll be all right. Yeah. I mean, the company's excited because I do believe that we're probably in our weight class and our budget class the best selling film in the States right now. I don't think there's anybody else that's selling as well as our film within our weight class. Which isn't saying a whole lot because most films in our weight class don't make a dime, but it's doing okay. It's doing pretty well. We just need to get it. It hasn't I was talking to Legal Man who played Mr. Jones the other day, and he was saying you just never know once we get it off on the other platforms, you just never know where that viral moment where it's going to come from. Somebody somehow is going to see it and post it, and I do think it's going to get sucked into the culture. Hopefully.
Yeah. I'm sort of struggling with that myself. Like I can't really seem to get the subscribers and stuff. I'll get like a, couple hundred here or there, but I don't really get the couple thousand. And where we need to be in the freedom community, we need to be getting into the hundreds of thousands and millions. So I think you have to get good first, right? You have to make some good quality stuff and pay
That's
your
right.
dues and make your mistakes and learn what to do and not to do. And I think we're definitely doing that. So I think we're getting very, very close to hopefully getting to that tipping point. And so it's a very exciting time to be in this sort of world.
I'm going to start a show too, by the way.
Oh,
It's going to be called Democracy Down. And The AD on the film, Doug Mize, is going to help me produce the thing. We've got everything. I've got all the equipment and everything. So that is in the works in the very near future. And then I've got another. I haven't announced this yet, so I can't really talk too much about it. But we will announce it after the screening. But I've got another big project, different but similar project to. It's a documentary type of thing. That's going to be coming out, being pitched pretty soon here. And then the last thing, I want to make my next film is called Under the Veil, tentatively titled. And it takes place in Los Angeles, and I want to shoot it in El Salvador and cheat El Salvador for Los Angeles.
Right. I was actually going to ask you about that
Okay.
El Salvador, because the next a while ago, yeah, you were telling me that you went to El Salvador and you thought it was absolutely incredible. So,
Yes.
I have not been to El Salvador. All I know is that they have Bitcoin as tender there, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, what did you think of El Salvador? Like, what really captivated you about the place?
Everything. I mean, it's beautiful. You've got coastline. It feels like you're in the United States, and like maybe what it was like here in the 1900s, like the turn of the century, 1890s, 19. Like it's just wide open.
Wow.
The Bitcoin is there. Nobody's really using it, but the fact that they have it, it's opened up this whole like rabbit hole for the culture of freedom.
Right.
Now they're all learning about it. Now everybody's on board. The president, us not being fans of the state, obviously, but I do think he's one of these sort of once in 1,000-year type of people that comes along and actually really cares about the people, and he actually wants to serve the people. It does concern me what happens when he's gone, but hopefully he's setting up the culture in a certain way. But the people there, I've been all over Latin America, not everywhere, but a lot of places. And the people, as you know, you live there, they're really nice. They're really down to earth. But El Salvador's on another level. I've never met people. They're so sweet. They're not just friendly, they're so happy. Like everywhere you go, they're just always laughing and giggling. Like every morning we'd go out. I went with Doug, and we'd be like in these towns, and they're just so much energy, but there's laughter everywhere. Everybody's giggling. They're always hugging on each other.
Wow.
I just love them. Yeah.
In 2019, before the pandemic, I traveled through Vietnam, and I thought Vietnam was like that. I'm like, man, these people are just so insanely happy and nice and happy to speak with you and all that stuff. It's great to be in that sort of a place. So I know.
Yeah, we all think we're so cool here in the West, and it's like people are life. I feel like I've wasted a lot of my life living here. Like I should have moved down there a long time ago. It's just people just know how to enjoy their lives.
Oh man, no, I didn't waste my time at all. As soon as I was 18, I left the U.S. and I've spent most of my adult life outside the U.S. So
yeah,
there's nothing
where
wrong
you
with
from?
the U. I grew up in New Jersey, unfortunately. Okay. Yeah, I escaped. By the way, speaking of where we're from, I wanted to let people know who you are, because some people watching this know who you are, some people might not. So I just was wondering if you could just like briefly introduce yourself, tell us about like your background in either the film world or the freedom world. Just tell us a little bit about who Drew Treglia is.
Oh boy. One of these questions. I grew up, I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I'll really truncate this, but for a while I owned I lived in Atlanta, Georgia for I don't know, 12, 13 years or something. And I owned a parking company there that's still there. He got hit pretty hard with the pandemic. Well, not the pandemic, with the tyranny.
Yeah.
But I believe they're still in business, but I sold it in 2003. And my old partner, who's a great entrepreneur, he's got another business too, but he built it up. And I think it's like maybe one of the largest parking companies in the Southeast right now. And I went and made this decision to go to film school in my mid 30s. And, at the time, school seemed like the thing to do. I would never recommend that. And I'm embarrassed about how much education I have. But at the time, that was still college wasn't like looked upon as a joke like it is now. And also I was in my mid 30s and I didn't even know, I'd never picked up a camera before. I didn't even know what aperture was. I literally just I was screwing around with acting a little bit,
Mhm.
and I had written a script, and one of my valets, because we had valets and we also managed parking lots, like pay parking lots. He was in film school, and we would talk about the script, and I would tell him where I want to put the camera and what I want to do, and he's like, "Dude, you're a director, man. You should be a director." And I never even knew. I was like, "What's that?" So yeah, so I out of the blue I took the GMATs, the test, and I did pretty good on it. And then but there's three sections of it, at least at that time, I think. And one of them I just like got like in the 99 percentile of my score. And it was really directing, it was the spatial stuff. So it was like, Bob, Sue, Jim, and Terry work at the restaurant. Bob can work Tuesdays from 9 to 5 and can't work Wednesdays, blah, blah, blah. Who's working Tuesday at 2? Like that kind of thing. For some reason that just hit me. I did really well in that. Like, and that's like really is directing in a lot of ways. Just trying to organize everything in your head. So I got into grad school, for better or for worse, and here I am. I lived in LA for years. I worked as a post production supervisor at this crazy studio in Beverly Hills, which was so much fun. I'm one of these few people. I loved LA. It's really terrible what's happened to it, but I
No,
love it.
same here. I love California. I never lived out there, but I worked for an art moving company and we transported artwork all across the US. So I spent a lot of time in California and I loved LA, I lived in a place called Fontana, which is just east of LA.
Oh yeah, I know
But
Fontana. That's a
yeah,
shit
it's
box though. Yeah, yeah.
definitely definitely a shit box. But I would like, on the
That's
weekends
the
I'd be
trucking capital of America. Did you know that? Not to cut you off.
yes.
Sorry.
No,
That's
no,
the
yeah,
trucking. There's so many trucks.
there's a whole bunch of companies there. So I worked for a company called US Art and yeah, a lot of companies are there. So but on the weekends sometimes I would go to, the Sunset Strip and have fun in LA. I absolutely love Los Angeles and all of
Love
California
it.
because I hear so many people in the freedom community say, "Oh, California's falling apart." Like, I don't hate California. I hate the government of California is what I hate.
They've destroyed it. It's
It's
so sad.
yeah.
It's,
I told you
it was a
earlier.
libertarian paradise for 60 years. Did you know that? It was a
Well,
libertarian paradise
yeah. Well, guys, like
until Reagan.
yeah, I was gonna say, like, it used to be like a lot of like conservatives came from California. Like, I don't like Nixon or
It
any of
was
those
conservative
guys.
for years,
Yeah, like
but
I don't like
yeah.
any of these guys, but it's like I was born in 1987, so there's a big, huge divide between like that old school California and the way it is now. But it really is a shame. I was just teaching a student an English class earlier, and the student had just moved from Japan to San Francisco. And I was telling him, I said, it used to be one of the best cities in the United States, and now it's just a friggin' hellhole. So I'm sorry that you're there right now, but it's a shame. I love California, but not the
San
weather.
Fran used to be pristine. Pristine. San Fran was. I mean, there was always that kind of element,
Mhm,
but it was pristine. You're right. Yeah,
mhm.
it's. But LA, I don't know. It's so the weather's perfect.
I
I
love
like I
Southern California, all of it.
well, I was like, for me, like I'd never picked up a camera. And then like, I don't know, 5, 6 years later, I worked in Atlanta for a while. I'm working at the studio in Beverly Hills, which is at the time was amazing. I went there recently and a lot of the stores are shut down, which is really sad, but it was amazing. Like I had a baby and then Christmas time in Beverly Hills was amazing, man. It's
Mhm.
so beautiful. You go out and all the stores were all done up and all the big stores like Prada and all those products, they still do kind of do, but at the time, all their like headquarters stores were there. So like these beautiful stores you go into to shop and then I always there's like a lot of ghosts there. And I always felt this is kind of weird, but I always felt like I lived there in another lifetime or something. It always felt like home to me.
I've been to places like that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally know how you feel. And I like, spend time in a place like that. They're like, "Oh, why are you living here?" I'm like, "I don't know. There's just something about this place that it just
Yeah.
feels I totally click with it." So,
When I
uh,
left, I really felt like I like was depressed for a while. Like I miss it. And then like I'm in the studio, we had this billionaire owned it. He's like a friend of mine. I don't talk to him as much as I used to, but obviously, but we had celebrities coming in all the time. So it was like a trip for me, like, all of a sudden, like, there's like
see
all
all
these
these people.
celebrities. Yeah. We had freaking Pacino
Anarchapulco
come
is like
in.
that. I'm like, "Oh my God, it's this person." Try not to,
Yeah.
gotta be cool.
Yeah.
Gotta be cool. Don't lose it.
Yeah. It was just a trip. I mean, I don't really get down on that. Like, I'm not like asking for autographs or anything, but it was just a mind trip. And then,
It's a fun experience.
yeah, then I made a documentary. It's a absurdist documentary called Lord of the Freaks. prepare yourself if you watch it. But we had the premiere at the Egyptian, which is the
Mhm,
theater they invented the red carpet,
mhm.
and it had money behind it. And like we had like a $40,000 red carpet premiere, that live TV, and it was pretty wild. It was just I was like, wow, I can't believe this. It was like 10. That was like 10 years after I started. So, um, long story short, I'm here now doing this. So
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. Because I did want to talk about how you develop the skill of directing. We're going to be focusing a lot on skills in the interview today.
mhm.
Um, yeah, and just one thing about Los Angeles, like even just like driving around, like you feel like you're in a movie, like a Tarantino movie or something, just like driving down the street. It's got that sort of energy to it.
there's
So,
a there's a there's a there's a ghost like quality to the place. I don't even know
mhm,
how else to explain it. It's
mhm.
yeah, it's something about it. I don't know. I love it. You know, they used to have open carry there.
That's
Like that's
that's
how free
wild.
it was.
The old West. Well, Hollywood didn't it used to be like they chose Hollywood because it had like a Western cowboy kind of feel. That's where they made all the cowboy movies, and
Right.
then it just slowly became the place that made movies. So it would have been that sort of like old West sort of libertarian vibe to it. So
Have you seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I've heard the title. That's a documentary, right?
No, that's a Tarantino's last film.
No, I have not seen Once Upon
You
a
should
Time.
check it out. It's
I'll check it
greatness. And
out.
that's what it's like right when the Cowboys kind of start getting taken over by the hippies in the 70s. It's
Mhm.
like the end of the 60s.
Oh, I've heard the concept. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
And like we're talking about how sad it is that the place is messed up, but the world is always changing. Like things change really, really quickly, as we all know in life. Things change like that. So a couple of years, who knows? Maybe it can change back to something totally awesome. So
That's
we'll
right.
see.
That's right.
Yeah. So
They've
I
been
try to
down
be.
before too. There's been down points in LA before too. So if you talk to any of those old timers that were there in like the 70s and stuff, oh man, it must have
Mhm,
been amazing. You could get a little craftsman house down in Santa Monica. Like it was all construction workers and
mhm,
people with families and kids playing out in the streets, and it wasn't expensive,
mhm.
super cheap.
Oh, there's no way I could afford to live in California these days. No way in hell.
No,
So,
no. You have to pay a couple $1 million and they let people just sleep and shit in the streets. It's out of control.
well, like the
Excuse
the
me.
work that I do here in Mexico, like Anarchapulco and all the earthship work and stuff like that, I can only do that because the cost of living is so low. So I can do 2 or 3 hours of work and have enough to pay rent and buy food and all that stuff, and then have a couple hours or whatever to do the other stuff. If I was living in the U.S. or even California, um, there's no way I could keep up with the cost of living and have time to do the work that I'm doing. So I'm down
Stressful.
here.
It's stressful.
I'm down here in Mexico, and like it gives me the time to do this stuff. Now you are big into the freedom community. Yeah, I know that freedom, it's a big part of your life, the freedom community. So I was just wondering, what sort of role did movies play in you sort of getting into like the voluntarist mindset? Were you influenced by any movies to go down the rabbit hole a little bit?
Not really. Not really. I mean, I've been heavily influenced by films. It's like one of the great loves of my life.
Mhm,
I've watched tens of thousands of films. I've watched, especially when I was like studying, I would
mhm,
watch films, and I'd watch if it was like a famous foreign film or an old time, I would watch the director's commentary, or they would have like like a cinema theorist or
mhm,
a critic or a writer, and I would listen to that before I'd watch the film to kind of know what I'm looking for. But
mhm.
as far as that, I don't know. I mean, you've got They Live, V for Vendetta. There's not a whole lot. I mean, I'm calling this film the
Both of those
Vanguard
great
film of the
movies.
American. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, They Live is kind of like a corny B movie, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
the
when I
concept
watch it,
is
I'm like, this is
so
kind of
good.
cheesy 80s stuff, but it's a very cool concept. So
Yeah, everybody's seen it.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
everybody's seen that film.
Yes.
Um, the film that I want to make in El Salvador, it's called tentatively titled, like I said, Under the Veil.
Mhm.
It's kind of like people say you're never supposed to have a film meet a film. Whatever. I like to give people the idea of what it is.
Mhm.
The kind of ethos of it. It's kind of like if you had like a high quality kind of Taxi Driver or kind of a Kubrick kind of film married to like They Live. So if
I
you took They
was
Live and took it out of the B space kind of thing.
mhm.
Go ahead, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to ask you, the next question was what filmmakers inspired you, and I've heard you talk about Kubrick before. So Kubrick's an interesting character. So you're going to have some Kubrick elements into the new project here.
Well, I mean, Kubrick is I mean, nobody can touch Kubrick. I mean, he's the
Untouchable.
greatest of all time. There's nobody can touch that guy. And I don't think, I mean, he was so obsessive. That's why he didn't make that many films.
Mhm.
There was that's another great thing about LA, because they have these kind of things at the LAC, the LA, whatever, the art gallery. They had a thing of him, like a whole Kubrick, and one of the rooms was just Napoleon. That was a film he was going to make and he never got around to.
Wow.
And there's actually another, yeah, he had literally like, he had done millions of dollars of work just with the costumes and the set and everything. He just couldn't get it the
Wow.
way he wanted it, and he ended up dying and not being able to make the film. Yeah, but that guy's I mean, you're talking about Clockwork Orange. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I've seen that one.
You seen
Now, I
Clockwork
thought
Orange?
I could be wrong. Didn't he die right as he was finishing Eyes Wide Shut?
That's right. And then
Cut we cut out there for a second.
yeah. So,
Can
are you
you
back?
yeah, I'm back on. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. I can't see you.
All right, sorry about that, everyone. We got cut off there. So we were just talking about Kubrick and sort of he's going to be influencing your new film. So I'm not sure if you can tell us too much about that or say whatever you're comfortable with saying about that.
Oh, you want to talk about Under the Veil? 2 sentences. What happens?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Under the veil. Tell us a little bit about that. Yeah.
That's there's this guy, he's at his, I'm not sure if he's 40 or 50 yet, but he's at his like 50th or 40th birthday party at the office, these horrible office jobs. And he ends up there's some things have happened to him, so he ends up just quitting the job and he disappears down to Mexico, and he's just screwing off. He's drinking, doing blow, hookers, and he's basically worse off than he was before. And he ends up meeting a shaman who talks him into doing an ayahuasca ceremony. And he does the ceremony and he has this big breakthrough. And then when he comes out the other side of the ceremony, he can see them.
Wow.
And they're a race of aliens that walk among us. And they're in positions of power everywhere. They're teachers, newsreaders, politicians, of course, cops, you name it.
Brilliant.
So he starts going around LA and whacking these aliens.
Wow. Incredible.
And so the story evolves. Yeah. And they're involved in, there's pedophilia. There's all kinds of crazy stuff with it.
Dude, this is really, really interesting because I actually had a note here. I wanted to ask you a question because I've heard you talk about Kubrick and Eyes Wide Shut, one of the last things he did before he died. That one was a really interesting mainstream movie because it delved into this idea that these powerful people are doing this weird occult shit behind the scenes, and we now know that that's real. Like the Epstein stuff, we know that that's real. And you touched upon this very briefly in Jones Plantation because like Mr. Smith was doing like the little satanic ritual, and your guy Jimmy Jack kind of was like, what's this guy doing?
Yeah.
So you touched upon that topic, and also like there were like the weird stuff with the kids, and so it was cool that you touched upon that. I was actually going to ask you in the interview if you would ever consider making a movie about the dark occult and this weird stuff, because that's like a really interesting concept, and you're already doing it. So that's very synchronistic there.
Well, I was talking to Legal Man again the other day. That was the same conversation, and we got into this because we started talking about the film, and we both were like, first of all, yeah, the dark occult for sure. Mm-hmm. We were also thinking like, I would be surprised when you look at this control system around the world and how wicked it is. And how organized it seems
psychologically, how do they know all these psychological methods of controlling us?
Well, I just wonder, I would be surprised if it wasn't supernatural, if there wasn't some sort of supernatural thing behind it, some sort of alien, who the hell knows what. But
satanic.
I just can't see people pulling this off, just normal, regular people, because yeah, people can be evil for sure, but most people are really nice, decent people, and we're just not that
smart.
Thousands of years, and and just all the predictive programming. I mean, the stuff on Simpsons. I mean, that Trump thing alone, where he's coming down the elevator. I mean, that's you can't do that with rationality. There's something weird going on. I don't know what it is. All I'm saying is that everything is on the table. That's all I'm saying.
Me too.
If you think something's off the table, you're not paying attention. Everything is on the table.
Me too, absolutely. Like I've always been like, questioning authority and stuff like that. I used to be a left winger, then I became a libertarian, and then it just whittled down to no, it's all BS. So
Yeah.
everything's on the table. Things that couple of years ago I didn't believe, now absolutely. And yeah, and one thing I do not believe it's just these governments and these presidents that are doing to us. Like there's definitely something more. Mark Passio hit the nail right on the head. These wars are just human sacrifice rituals. There's no reason to be having all these wars all the time, and it's just
Mm-mm.
got to be some sort of bloodshed ritual. There's no
That's
other
right.
reason for it.
That's right. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, that's why they like babies.
yeah. Um, I'm just like I'm just really glad that I never fell into that trap because when I was a kid, I was really into like military history and war history, and when I was a teenager, I copped on to the political game. But just me myself, I'm like, man, I'm so glad I didn't fall into that freaking military trap because it's just a human sacrifice ritual. So,
Oh, there was a time. Okay. So when I was in high school, I took the ASVABs, which is the military test,
mhm.
and crushed it. I got like the 99th percentile.
Wow.
And my mother was crying, "Oh, this is your big chance. You're gonna get out of here." I had military guys up my yazoo. You want to be a spy? They call me like, you want to be a spy? I'll make you a spy. You want to be a spy? Whatever you want. For some reason, I didn't do it. And
Good.
I'm so thankful. And
Me
I
too.
almost did it again in my 30s during like my early 30s, the 9/11 thing.
Something was pulling you back. Something. Yeah.
Because I would have been good at it. And
I think.
I especially at that time, I bet I would have been, I was pretty wily. I would have been one of those guys that I saw this documentary about these guys that found all that money in Iraq. Did you ever
Mhm.
see that one?
They made a movie like Three Kings.
No, but this really happened. These guys found these pallets of money.
Mhm.
But before that, they were this crew that would go around and rob all the Iraqis of all their shit.
Wow. Oh my
And
God.
the guy was in this like hotel room. He was so like he looked like he was about to kill himself. This hotel room, there's nothing in it. He would just stay in the room all day.
Wow.
He was
Damn.
so depressed and guilty. And I would have done some terrible things at that time in my life, and I'm
Oh yeah.
so thankful I didn't. I got enough shit in my head bouncing around. I don't need that, you know.
Yeah. And there does seem to be an awakening with that. A lot of people who like
Mm-hmm.
who maybe would have joined but did not. So I could see you like with your acting skills, the way you play Jimmy Jack. I could see you playing that sort of a role in a movie, like a military guy, like doing that sort of stuff. So maybe you could put that into a movie someday.
Hey, look, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. I can't change an oil on a car, but I can lay down a performance in acting.
Mhm.
I mean
Mhm.
that I can do that. I could definitely, without a doubt, play a really crazy, nasty sergeant or something like that guy that did it in
Full Metal
Full Metal.
Jacket. Yeah.
That's a Kubrick film.
Yeah. Um, I mean to ask you, like, because you played the role of Jimmy Jack, and that was actually one of my favorite characters in Jones Plantation. His like
Thank
little
you, thank you.
one-liners, like "Can I have a word with you?" It's like very, very quotable. Um, I was just wondering, like, your acting skills. Did you do anything to sort of get in that frame of mind? Did you do any prep work, like watch any movies or hang out with some Southern type of people? Did you do anything to prepare for that?
I mean, I already kind of knew the guy.
Okay.
I already kind of knew the guy.
We've all known people. We've all known some Jimmy Jacks before.
Yeah, and um, yeah, I do my own little thing, but I knew that guy, and when I was a kid, my grandfather was a Simmental cattle farmer, so I used to go and bale hay every summer, and I can chew tobacco. I would chew tobacco since I was like 10, so I knew that. And there's also a little bit of like I think the greatest presence on screen ever was Clint Eastwood. He's
Oh
not
yeah.
necessarily the greatest actor, but the presence, and so I took a lot of his inspiration.
I have mixed feelings about the guy. He's an incredible actor. I love his movies, but he definitely toes the line of like, the military industrial complex and stuff like that. He directed like American Sniper, and I'm like, eh. So I'm not sure about his ethics and all that stuff, but when it comes to the way he can direct a movie and lay down the lines, yeah, he's incredible.
Well, let me defend him for a second, because you got to understand these boomers.
Hmm. That's true.
He's a boomer, and this stuff seemed to work for them. People
Mhm.
give boomers a hard time. I used to give my mom a hard time about all the government programs and how we're all getting wrecked by them now, and
Mhm.
she's like,
They don't have the information that we had from an
well, no,
earlier
but she said to me, she goes, it was here when I got here. And it's like,
right.
oh, wait a minute. It was the greatest generation to settle this shit up, the so-called greatest generation. I mean, the
Yeah.
boomers didn't set this stuff up. It was here. They started that back with what's his face, the president during World War II. He
Yeah.
was the guy that set all this stuff up.
Oh, FDR.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like my grandparents' generation, I have a lot of respect for. Now they sort of have sort of the traditional views about like, religion and patriotism. However, I look at it this way, they just didn't have access to the information that we have now. Like we can
No.
see so many like declassified documents and the Catholic Church was doing this and the US military was doing that. They didn't have that information and we do. So I sort of give
It
them a bit of
seemed
a
to work.
pass.
It
Mhm.
seemed to work. And you look, man, most of my life I was like Johnny, America's number one. We're the
Mhm.
freest, bestest, blah blah blah. And when you finally realize it's all horseshit,
It's
it's like
hard.
losing a girlfriend you're in love with. It was not easy for me.
It's no, and I did these relapses like for it like years and years. Like I was like very wide awake, but every now and then I would just have this stupid relapse over like some patriotic stuff. And now I look back on it, I'm like, I knew better at that time. Why did I believe, why did I say that stupid shit?
I'll one up you on that. I to this day, if I'm watching something and there's some crazy like patriotism thing,
Mhm.
I swear to God, involuntarily, sometimes my eyes will well up.
It's a
It's
subconscious thing.
crazy.
It's
Yeah.
an emotional thing. Like they've messed with our minds really good. There's a North Korean beautiful woman. She's a defector. She ran away from North Korea. Her name's Yeonmi Park. Great YouTube channel. And she does this YouTube channel and she breaks down their propaganda and their bullshit. She's a total libertarian freedom advocate now. But she had this really interesting moment. She says, like, yeah, I hate North Korea. I love America. I love freedom. But she says, subconsciously, when I look at like the statue of Kim Jong Un in the middle of the night with the light on it, she says, subconsciously in my mind, I still get this feeling of like hope and pride. And she's like, they mess with our minds really, really well. We can have this logical understanding of what's going on, but we might be watching some like patriotic, like World War II or whatever movie, and it's like you get that feeling. And yeah, they've messed with us. They've messed us up good, I'll say.
Yeah. When people start chanting like USA at like a football game or something, if I'm watching, it like affects me. But I see it. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
you're
this is
catching
happening
it.
to me right
Yeah.
now. Yeah. But it's wild, man. It's really wild.
And that just goes to show you how powerful this mind control stuff is. Like, this is not an accident. This is definitely occult mind control. We'll get into that in a different topic here. One thing I did want to talk about, I just want to show my website. It's called Sovereign Life Skills, and I want to
Okay.
talk about my website and why I'm interviewing you about your skills as a director because the freedom community, there's a lot of us and people seem to be a bit lost. They don't quite know how to begin. So something like Larkin Rose's Candles in the Dark, that's a skill you can learn. You can just learn how to talk to people. Have you ever done Candles in the Dark?
No,
Okay, I would
but I'm
recommend
familiar
it.
with it.
Okay, it's incredible. It's you basically he
I mean,
teaches you how
I
to.
drove 20 hours with Larkin in a car to set and
Okay,
back, and we
so you
talked a lot. So I
okay,
get it.
so
Yeah,
you
he
know what
kind
it
of
is.
did it to me in the car. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a skill set. It's something you can easily learn, and you can take it online. So, Sovereign Life Skills, what I'm calling it, it's a year-round global symposium on stateless life skills. So, whether
Okay.
it's communication skills, talking to people one-on-one, learning what questions to ask and how to get good at talking to people about freedom, or what you do, how do you make, some tips about making a movie that a million people are going to see and be influenced with freedom. But it's also my stuff like earthships, like off-grid water and off-grid food. If you want to learn those skills, you can come here to the workshops. And the most important skill to learn about freedom is communication, because if the other human beings around you understand the non-aggression principle, it's game over. You don't have to worry about the crypto stuff or the off-grid stuff. If people understand freedom, that's it.
Well, I mean,
So
nobody ever goes backwards. That's the thing
kind
about it.
of,
Once,
most people don't. Stephen
yeah. Well,
Molyneux.
I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying. The overwhelming was he ever though?
That's true. Well, that guy, I read his bio. His skills are he was trained as an actor, so that was like he went to college for like acting, I believe. So I think that guy was just a total phony from the beginning, in my opinion.
I don't know. I don't know, but yeah. I mean, okay. There's probably I'm sure there's exceptions to everything, but you understand what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Most people once you see the veil, see through the veil, you don't.
Most people, yeah, they do,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And so I've
Uh,
got this. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say this would be a really cool platform for. I could see this being you can get experts in different things and they can have classes and stuff. This would be a
Well,
cool platform for.
that's what I'm gonna do because I'm trying to pull out this stops. I'm like, why is the freedom community losing so freaking badly? Because we don't
Yeah,
have the skills, communication
yeah.
skills, education skills. So long story short, I have this fun little section called Film Festival, and I've got like the
Mhm.
Earthship documentary, Jones Plantation. Now you educated me about IMDb, so I got my
Mhm.
thank you for doing that. So
Yeah.
got like the IMDb link to whatever movie it is, and I'm writing my own little blurb. What I said about Jones Plantation, I said this film gives you a peek behind the magician's curtain of mind control and how it affects all of us. If you watch this movie, you'll start to understand, and the next time someone tries these tricks on you, you will not be fooled. So I try to explain why these movies are related to freedom. So
Can I make a suggestion? How far
absolutely.
along are you on the site? Like, is it launched officially, or is it kind
It's
of just in
technically it's
beta?
launched. It's up there. For example, there's nothing in this section about presentations. This is going to be the first video in the presentations section. So it's launched, but
Okay.
it's growing every day.
It's in beta. It's in beta, basically,
Yeah,
right?
it's out there to the world, but we're still forming it. Yes, so it's a beta
You need to
phase.
get. You should consider getting Rebecca
Hmm.
to. She's really good at. Um, I mean, she's pretty. Just you're gonna just don't let your ego get hurt because she's gonna come at you. But she's really good at looking through stuff and picking through it and what's working, what's not working, wording,
Mm.
aesthetic, everything. You might want to consider that. Um,
Yeah,
and the other thing
I've
is
worked
you.
with Rebecca. She's incredible. She
Yeah,
knows her stuff
yeah,
very well.
you know the
Yes.
deal. And then the other thing is you long trend. The online things are great, but you should have the online film thing. But then you should have a real festival, like a live
I would love to. That's
analog festival. Yeah, that would be really cool. That would help your whole thing, in my
excellent.
opinion.
Yeah, the online thing is good because for one, you reach the whole world. Like on my homepage, someday I'm gonna have it translated to Spanish and Japanese. I want everyone in the world to be able to come to the website and see it. That way we can get the whole, the whole world's moving ahead with freedom.
Yeah.
Now, websites are important because if you have an event, it can be shut down by the government. There could be like a hurricane just destroyed Acapulco, and we're really
Mm,
struggling to even have the event. Whereas this, it's like no stress. Totally, it can't be taken down. Or it could be, but we can get around that. It transcends a lot of the problems of a physical event. So I would like to do
100,
both.
100.
I
Yeah,
would like to do
100.
both. And so thank you so much for that suggestion. That's a great
Yeah.
thing. And hopefully someday, if we do have one, that'd be really awesome to have you and hopefully Doug and a couple of the other people down as well, too.
Have you heard of Thaddeus Russell?
I definitely know the name. I don't know too much about Thaddeus Russell.
Well, whatever you think about the guy, he has a platform called Renegade. It's just do Thaddeus Russell Renegade. You
Mhm.
should snoop around his platform because that's what he does. It's all classes. I mean, it's not as baked as yours. You know,
Mhm.
he's more. I don't know what he is actually, but it's the same kind of concept except for you're like all freedom, everything. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
all
He
freedom.
has, yeah, he's classes and it's like a school almost kind of thing. I think you're doing more than that, but I don't know. Something to think about. Take a look at his stuff and see what he's doing, right or wrong. You know?
Excellent. Thank you for that suggestion. And like, I got Larkin's Candles in the Dark skills. My friend Agnieszka does body language reading. So a lot of people say, what does this have to do? Because I do like off-grid stuff, and people were expecting me to only do that. They say, why are you talking about communication? And I'm telling you, you can have all the crypto in the world, all the guns, all the off-grid stuff. The powers that be, they can just come in and stop you from doing that. They can and will stop you. However, if the whole world starts to understand what freedom is, then the whole machine, the beast, it just falls right over. So, one thing
Let's
I'm really
hope.
excited is I want to start doing candles in the dark and freedom conversations with order followers. Like we're doing like an interview right now. I'm going to interview like police and military, whoever I can get to come on and talk with them about like ethics of order following and like
That's a
posting
great
video.
idea. You know, Larkin did that a couple times for
Mhm.
like a short period of time, and then he stopped doing it. And I thought it was a really good idea. He'd
I
get
think it's a great idea.
tops on and stuff. Yeah, and just
Hmm.
kind of work them through that candles in the dark thing.
Hmm.
And it's really fun to watch because people literally have like brain freezes in the middle of the conversation where like their programming gets a wrench thrown in a program and they're like they can't answer certain questions without, you know what I mean? It's really cool.
Well,
It's a good idea.
the three videos at the top, those are my students that I interviewed, just my students who were learning English in my class. I said, "Oh, I'll do candles in the dark, and if I get their permission, I'll put the video on YouTube." And I did. So you can, if you watch these videos, you see their brain freezes, like, "I'm not sure." So
Okay. Okay.
I think that's really something, yeah, that we're going to be developing in the future, but you have to have the skills to do that. So that's the main focus of the website is like, hey, if you're frustrated, you're stuck with freedom, just learn some skills and let's get going here. So that's the website, and I had you on because you have some great communication skills as a director. You can take a story about freedom and show the world. So that's why I wanted to have you on to the website here.
Cool.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, so we'll just get back into things here. I'll hit stop share. So, by the way, if you or anybody else wants to, you can subscribe here. People can join with their email and they'll be kept updated with whatever interviews, presentations, workshops, all that stuff. So
Hopefully people will support you. You need to get this going. This is cool.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm just doing one thing at a time. I'm telling you, Berwick gave me a shout out and I had like 100 subscribers overnight. So I'm very confident that we can build this up over time. So
That's
we'll,
awesome. He's been amazing for the film. Amazing. He's been such a supporter.
yeah.
And he not to cut you off, but I don't know if you were going to say something, but
Oh no, go ahead.
my quote unquote awakening was in 2013, and there was things going on that were leading to it, and then I never even heard of the guy, and for some reason, how. I stumbled upon one of his videos where he's being interviewed at some mining conference,
Mhm.
and they were asking him about Obama at the time, and he said he was an anarchist, and he just laid it out in like 10 minutes, and I was like, as soon as I heard that, it flipped a switch in me. And for like, I don't know, 6 months, I was walking around like a lunatic trying to convince everybody that the currency was going to crash and the world was coming in and we were living in a prison and blah, blah, blah. You know how it goes when you first wake up and then you kind of settle in and start figuring things out. And so, yeah, I mean, it's weird because that guy's always been kind of around as I've gone through this. So, but he's been a huge help. I mean, financially he helped us, but he's also helped us just doing his walk and talks and talking about the film. Every time he
Yeah,
does that, we get a boost in sales. So it's great.
absolutely.
Very thankful.
No,
Yeah,
he's incredible. Like he really will. If you've got a good project and he knows about it, he will help you out with it. So
that's right.
he's really great like that. So
He put his
um
money where his mouth is. He put his money where his mouth is too.
I
So
could see him sort of maybe like having like an acting role, the same way like Larkin was in he had the role in Jones Plantation. It'd be interesting to see Berwick, start taking extra
cameo.
roles. Cameos, yeah.
I'm
Um
not. I'm totally down with that. I'm
yeah.
totally down with that. Like just like, hey, that'll be $5, sir. Okay, here's your change. Then he's out of the scene.
Um yeah, so no, Berwick. And speaking about that, he gave the help. Um something I get an idea here. Because you guys struggle really, really hard to get that made, right? It was crowdfunded and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what sort of equipment did you use? Like, for example, I saw one of your interviews, you talked about the camera. Like, what was that camera called? Was it called like a Dragon something? Like, can you
It was a
talk
red. It was
about?
a red. It was a red camera, Red Dragon. We shot on 6K. So the idea was, I know a thing or two with this, so I know how I can make a dime into a dollar.
Mhm,
So with this film thing, because I know little tricks and things that you can actually put a little money into that are going to make the film look like it's $1 million film when you made it for $100,000.
mhm.
And the cameraman is obviously right up there with that. So yeah, we shot on the red, which is, I mean, it's it's not the tippy top camera, but it's up there. It's right below the really really good cameras. But and we used I always forget the name of this thing. It's it's basically a steady cam kind of thing, but there's a name for it. I can't remember. I always forget the name of this thing, but it was basically on this rig the entire time.
Mhm.
So, so if we would set it, if it would be a static shot, it'd be on the rig, and then if we were doing a moving shot, it'd be on the rig. And so, I don't know if you notice a lot of movement in the film. There's a lot of
Mhm.
dollying around and stuff. It was all done on the rig, and I can't remember what the name of that thing is. It's
It's all good.
EG. Yeah, yeah. It's bothering me though. I want to know what it is.
But
Anyways,
that camera, you guys didn't buy that camera, you rented it,
no,
right?
no, no, no. Yeah, I would never buy. I wouldn't. It would be a weird situation where I would actually buy a camera. I'd always rent them because I like using different cameras for different things. I do own some cameras, but I mean, just like
Well,
cameras of that cost.
I did want to throw an idea out there about that. What if, like, because the freedom community individually, we don't have that much money, but like a large group of people, like crowdfunding stuff. I'm just curious, like, what if like there was some sort of like, crowdfunded, sort of, if we had like almost like a mini film production like company in the freedom community, like if we all crowdfunded like a camera, that way like one person could be filming a documentary, and then while that's in post production somebody else could be filming a feature film. What if the freedom community, what if we had like the funds or whatever to buy some of this material so that more movies could be made? Would do you think that could ever be possible, or anything like that? Like any ideas for how the freedom community can sort of collectively make more movies like this happen in the future?
So you're talking about like a studio where you have the equipment and people that are in the group can come and kind of rent the equipment out or check the equipment out and go shoot projects with it, kind of thing.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, I'm calling this film, I've been calling it the vanguard film of the American dissident cinema movement. And then this is a developing thing and it's a long-term thing for me, but I'm starting to now think I just want to call it the dissident arts movement because it's not American specific and it's not cinema specific. And creating a community, there could be something there. I like it. You could ship the equipment. It's kind of like there's a company called Lens Pro to go where you just go online and they ship you the equipment and you rent it from them.
Nice.
It could be something like that where you could pay a membership and have access to certain equipment. It's
Yeah.
interesting. It's an interesting idea. Yeah.
Or like,
Like,
like people in the freedom community who might have like some acting skills or some editing skills where like they would go and volunteer. That way you can save money. I'm just trying to think of ways that like we can do these projects, but it won't be so expensive and crushing for the people doing it.
yeah. I mean, dissident arts movement, that's tentatively what I'm going to start calling it, possibly. Damn.
Nice.
And that could be something where, artists, dissident artists from every profession could sign up and start putting something like that together. That's interesting. I like that. I like that because just having a group that you join is fun and everything, but to have something where you actually get some benefit from it, you got my mind thinking about something. Yeah. Have equipment available. People, they rent it. They pay for the insurance. Maybe there's a membership fee kind of thing to pay for it. That's something to think about. Yeah. I like it. Yeah. You could even do it where you have projects you can submit and the board or whatever.
Competition, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it definitely can be done because, like, the freedom community, like things can be achieved, like things like Pork Fest and Anarchapulco and all that stuff. And when I first heard Jones Plantation was going to be a movie, I thought it was interesting, but it didn't quite hit me why it was such a good idea. And as time went by, I said, wow, that's brilliant. Because when you talk to normies and start talking about like, anarchist principles, they're not going to listen. But when people watch movies like The Hunger Games is one of my favorite movies. When you watch these movies like that, you get that feeling, that message of freedom hits you. So I think movies and media, it's a very, very powerful way to spread the message of freedom. So
maybe the most powerful, really, honestly. I mean,
yeah, I agree.
But the key is, I think, is to make sure you're not making something that's like on the nose and pedantic. So we were just trying to make a film that's first and foremost is fun and entertaining. So anybody could there's never even thought about the stuff, just could watch it and might. But we've had normies I keep calling them normies. You know what I mean? Yeah. At screenings, and like there was a woman in Phoenix who had she went with this girl, her boyfriend canceled. So she went, she had no idea what, and she was like, oh my God, I've been watching this. You could tell her eyes were spinning. She was like, I'm watching. She was like, that's the money system. That's the voting system.
Oh, the elections. Like that's my favorite part of one of my favorite parts of the movie. Like you cannot not laugh at that election scene. It's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, that was really came out of necessity. We had a whole scene and this big long voting scene and everything. And like, we're not shooting this. We don't have time for this. We don't have the money for this. And we're going to do something that's funnier. We can do something really funny and we can make these commercials. I won't give too much of it away, but Legal Man loved it. Larkin was like, what? There's so many things. Larkin was like, because he's a screenwriter and he's just like, what? He was like,
what do you comedy?
It looked like he had a look in his face like I was telling him the moon was made out of cheese or something. Like, what are you talking about? But
Yeah,
to his credit, I've said over and over again, once he watched the film, he made a video and he's like, not only was I wrong, but it was better than it would have been. So that
right.
was really cool of him to just man up and admit it. Cause I do the same thing. Our partnerships work because when the truth is the truth, we're pretty good about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
We have egos and we fight for what we believe, but then the truth is the truth. And so you just accept it, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And doing these difficult projects, like there's always going to be arguments and like little fights and stuff like that. And that's another skill to work on. How do you get along with people and like make sure that, everything happens. And even if you have like little arguments and stuff, you can still, make an important project happen. So,
Well, I mean, yeah, they say that the old saying is that if you're having too much fun on the set, the movie's going to suck. That's
mhm.
probably not true, but that is an old saying. Like, I wanted to bring some up because I started to talk about it before we got cut off. The Kubrick thing. I don't know if you've heard this. So that Eyes Wide Shut, the story goes that he had 30 more minutes in the film. The executives watched the film and said, you got to cut that out. There's no chance you can. And
Wow.
Kubrick was so great that he said, no, I'm not cutting it out. It's not
Wow.
happening. And he
Incredible.
died right after that. And that footage has disappeared. Nobody's ever seen it.
Wow.
But
Oh
who
my
knows
God.
what the hell that was?
Um,
Yeah.
I didn't like I knew a little bit about that story, not the whole thing. I didn't know there were 30 minutes. I did know he died like suddenly, like during or after the making of that movie at some point, and it's very, very suspicious. So some people think it may have been, foul play, a conspiracy. What do you think? Do you think there was like a conspiratorial element to how he died, or was it like a natural cause?
There's a lot of stuff with him. I mean, there's a lot of people think that he was the one who shot the moon landing.
Mhm.
He's got a lot of little hints in The
Space
Shining.
Odyssey. Yeah.
I know the guy. I took a Steadicam course with a guy named Garrett Brown. He invented the Steadicam
Mhm.
and became friends with him. And he shot The Shining.
Wow.
He was a Steadicam op on The Shining. So the scene in The Shining where the girl's riding on the big wheel. He
Mhm.
shot that. He
Wow.
shot all those crazy shots in there.
So he knows his stuff really well.
He said Kubrick was so obsessed that like it was the only thing in his life. And so
I've
he
heard
said
that
the
as
kids,
well. All
yeah,
he
I mean,
thought about was his work.
that's something I've been thinking a lot about lately, especially a man has to have a mission
Mhm.
and you
I
have to be
I agree.
obsessed with that mission.
Mhm.
You have to be obsessed. And so when you're somebody who's drinking too much or doing drugs or whatever, you get down on yourself, but you're actually one of those people that just needs a damn mission. You know,
Yeah.
you got to have a mission and you have to get completely and totally obsessed by it.
I agree. Many years ago, I quit smoking, quit drinking, quit all that stuff. And like, even some of my friends, like I tell them what I'm doing for my work, how much money I'm spending, how much time. They're like, why are you doing this? I'm like, I'm obsessed. That's all there
Yeah.
is to it. So, um,
Yeah. That's what you're supposed to do.
yeah.
That's what you're
And
supposed to do.
And to be quite honest, I think that's why the freedom community is sputtering. We're failing in essence. Like we're not moving forward the way we should be because most people are just drinking, they're complaining, and they just don't have the discipline and focus. And I'm telling you, that's why I have the Sovereign Life Skills website. It's
Yeah.
going to take skill. First, you develop some skills, and then you develop the discipline, and we can start doing incredible stuff. So, especially like I keep saying, communication is going to be the most important skill that gets us out of this status mess. Because if we can communicate freedom to the masses, game over. It's a whole different world.
Yeah. I mean, I have so many ideas for projects that I'm trying to just build outside of the regime.
Yeah.
So I'm
Well,
trying to build this thing up through my company, Drew Media. I want to get a studio and I'm hoping to shoot in El Salvador because I think that could be the headquarters of DAM. Like it could be. I mean, I'm just calling it DAM. I don't know if that's what's going to be.
I
What do
love
you
the
think about
acronym
that? Do you
there.
like it?
I think it's incredible. I love it. Yes.
Okay. So that could be, and I know that they're like, he really wants people to come down there and start making films. So and I'm hoping we can get down there and get the Bitcoin people behind us. And if I could show the world that you can cheat El Salvador for Los Angeles and shoot there and make it happen,
Yep.
it will open up a whole can of worms because everybody won't think that they only can shoot some cartel movie in Latin America. You can shoot
Right.
LA in Latin America. I can shoot. When I was down there, I was looking. I know my locations. I could shoot LA and then go to LA and shoot for a week and get shots of different locations of landmarks,
That's actually incredible. So you think you can use El Salvador like realistically, convincingly, and people would think it's Los Angeles?
yes, yes. And then
Wow,
what you
that's
do is
incredible.
you have to go to LA and shoot, I don't know, a week, I'm just guessing, and shoot certain scenes in LA near landmarks.
Mhm,
So, so you've got some actual LA in there.
mhm.
And then the rest of the heart, soul of the film is all El Salvador. And we could
No,
do it.
no, that's incredible because I really do think if you think outside the box, everyone thinks that we're stuck in a certain way and that's the way it has to be. No, there is a huge, wide open world, loads of possibilities. All it
Yeah.
takes is hard work, discipline, being obsessed, and yet thinking outside the box. And we can absolutely do incredible stuff. So,
You should
um,
come work. If we get the film funded, you should come work on set.
wow, I would
I'd
absolutely
love to
love
have
to.
you on set.
I've
Yeah.
never the thing about movies, when I was growing up, I loved movies back in the 90s and all that stuff. I loved movies back in the day. I honestly don't like modern day movies, so I stopped caring about movies. So like the idea of like work on a movie set never used to excite. In my adult life, it's like, nah, it doesn't excite me.
Yeah.
However, the idea of working some in like a freedom related movie sounds absolutely incredible. So
You would be a good for your first film, you would be a really good script supervisor.
okay.
Or just like a producer, associate producer, or producer where you just get shit done. But a script supervisor, you're also there, like making sure we get our shots, making sure that the script, but you're watching continuity, which is, he's got a cigarette in shot A, you better have a cigarette in shot B.
Details and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. And by
Okay.
you got the shot list, like, dude, we got to get this shot, that kind of thing. I didn't have one of those on this shoot. It would have been nice to have, boy.
Okay. What do you call it? You call it a screenplay supervisor?
Script. No,
Sorry,
script supervisors, they
a
call them. Yeah.
script supervisor. Okay,
Could
I'll
be a
look at.
screenplay supervisor, same thing. Yeah.
Okay, I will look into what that means. 'Cause I've never heard of that job before, but it
Yeah.
sounds very interesting. Now, me personally, my passion is like off-grid and Earthship stuff, but I really do think like movies and documentaries and this stuff, it can really do an incredible amount. It can do way more than most other stuff can in regards to like spreading freedom.
I mean, you would just do it for the adventure. I mean, it's only a couple of weeks of shooting. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You definitely want to do it just for the adventure and the experience.
yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, I'm really glad that you came on here and you talked about damn. So that's what do you call that? The words. It's what's the D stand?
Dissident artist
Dissident.
movement. Damn.
Okay, dissident.
We're basically
artist.
launching that right now. I've not told anybody that except you. So it's just been in my head for the last few
Oh,
days.
you heard it here, folks. Dissident,
Yeah.
damn dissident artist. Because it used to be called dissident American.
American dissident cinema movement, but
Yeah.
I don't
I
want to.
like how
I
you
want to.
changed it to artist. I think that's a good move
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
because now it's people
'Cause
all over the world.
that's right. And it's not American and it's not just cinema.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because art, and like I was just telling you, like I'm really not interested in art. I used to love movies, music. I was really big into music back in the day, and like post-millennial stuff. I'm like, I just don't really like anything these days.
No, I
But
mean, especially since like 20, I mean, really since 2016, but
Mhm.
2010s, it's always now it's so bad. Everything, the people making them are really talented, but the producers and the writers, there's always, I call it that woke moment
Mhm.
where you have to swallow some shit just to keep watching. You're like, you're being propagandized. You're like, I gotta listen. So now you're propagandizing. I see you have an ulterior motive, because when you're watching a film, it's a relationship that you have with the filmmakers.
Mhm.
They're telling you a story, and
Yes.
you're listening to them, and you're going to let them take you on this journey,
Mhm.
and then they lie to you and propagandize you, and like, now this motherfucker has an ulterior motive. I don't want to watch your shit anymore.
Yes.
It drives me crazy. I was watching that show Bear. You ever heard of this?
Never heard of Bear. No.
Okay, so I'll be real brief, but it's this woke moment, and I stopped watching it. It's very well done. It's very well shot, well directed, basically well acted. But it's basically this kid. He's like a second generation Italian kid in Chicago. Now remember, this is downtown Chicago, which is like the murder capital of America, or close to it.
Very
And he
roughly.
has this Italian restaurant. He takes over from his brother who kills himself, and he works there with his cousin. And there's like another guy, and then everybody else that works there is black. Now, if this was the 90s, I wouldn't think anything of it. I would think, okay, maybe they're in some black neighborhood. It's kind of a rundown neighborhood. I don't know what's going on, but whatever. I don't even care about that much. But so eventually they address Chicago. Somebody shoots the front window out of the pizza place. Okay. Shoots a bullet. Well, wouldn't you know, guess who shot the window? It's
A
like a
white male.
crew of middle-aged white guys. Like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And it's like this nondescript group. They're like Italians and they're Russians, and it's like there's like a bunch of them outside arguing.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
white men are just
shooting
demonized,
up
demonic in
Chicago.
every possible thing imaginable. It's
Why are
ridiculous.
you lying to me
Well,
like this?
it's it's
Why?
it's this psychological. It's not just that. It's divide and conquer psychology. It's worked all throughout human history. That's why
That's
it's always
right.
been like Catholic versus Protestant, this
Right.
versus that.
Right.
It's always been there. This is just the modern adaptation of it. So
Right.
that's what I see it as.
A
Divide and
hundred years
conquer.
ago, they were doing the exact opposite, where we were the good guys and the black people were the evil ones. It was the exact
Exactly.
opposite. Yeah.
Well, that's all. It doesn't matter who the good guy and the bad guy is. Yeah, Drew, are you still there, Drew?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. The recording, it may have just stopped. I'm not sure if it's recording here.
Try to make sure it is. You want to stop and make sure it's recording?
Yeah, hold on one second.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. We got cut out again. We were talking about divide and conquer because it's a very important topic, and I can actually rant about that ad nauseum, and we'll leave that for another interview. We did
Okay.
agree to keep this short because, yeah, I have a schedule, and so do you. Thank you so much for talking about the dissident artist media, right?
Movement.
Dissident artist movement. Yeah, I maybe someday in the future you can come back on. We'll talk more about that because it sounds really interesting. It sounds like we can really flush that out and expand it. I just
And at
wanted
that
to,
point, your website will be all like blowing up too. So we can maybe it'll be a good
and that's
collaboration.
really and that's another thing. Like, not only is movies like it's very interesting and exciting, it's also something people want to do, right? If I sit down here and make a video about the non-aggression principle, I might get like 10 views, but if you have like
Yeah.
an exciting movie, you might get hundreds or thousands of people coming. So I think that's
Yes.
really going to be a big pull to our community. So Drew, dude, thank you so much for coming on and doing the interview here. By the way, you do have a pretty cool shirt. I just wanted to show the audience
Oh
there.
yeah.
What does your t-shirt say there?
This is actually a says,
Okay, it says
please don't feed the animals. It's got Republicans and Democrats. This is a I got this from Sal the Agorist at
your microphone. We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. Yeah. I got this from Sal the Agorist.
Hmm.
If you know who he's got, a Agora Threads is the name of his company.
Mhm.
Sal's a meme king. He's got one of the best Twitter accounts that I've seen. He's hilarious. He does these hilarious memes. He's a good dude too. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's
All right.
he's a heavy agorist. So yeah, check out his stuff.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, so that's an incredible t-shirt. I just wanted to show that there. Drew, is there any last thing you wanted to plug or mention before we head off here?
If people want to see the film, go to jonesplantationfilm.com before it gets launched onto the other platforms. It will be more expensive there because they charge us, and but it'll be easier for probably you to watch there if you have an Amazon account or something. But go to jonesplantationfilm.com, and if they want to follow me on YouTube, they can follow us at Drew Media TV on YouTube.
Okay, awesome. And everyone out there watching here today, thank you so much for watching the interview, and check out more content on sovereignlifeskills.com. And we're going to be doing a lot more of these interviews and presentations well into the future. See you next time.
All right. Thank you.